This evening, let's explore the Dzogchen text composed by the third Dodrupchen, Advice for Hor Ozur. And then let's meditate. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, brought to you by the kind folks who support this channel on Patreon for about $1 or $2 a month. Tonight, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon the sands of Tatooine under the guidance of Qui-Gon Jinn, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Good news. During tonight's live stream, if at any time you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or Buddhist philosophy or how to apply them to your life, simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right-hand side of your screen. I'll do my best to answer it for you. So let's get right to it. We've come to the 14th paragraph, which appears to us in the classic, what's the word I'm thinking of? Q&A format. So do your best to chant with me. You asked when someone who practices this path asks how do the stages of dissolution occur. Is it necessary to orient and propel yourself beforehand? So, I have to give you a caveat. And for that caveat to make sense, I need to switch pages. It's a caveat I've mentioned many times. Human behavior, human attitudes, fit into one of two categories, according to the 81 poems of the Tao Te Ching. We can be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, competitive, and cruel. Or we can be flexible, loving, laid-back, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. These two are antithetical to each other. So we now, of course, there's always going to be aberrant behavior here and there, but as far as just lifestyle choices, most people on most paths tend to be rigid, fearful, controlling, and elitist. And one of the ways that people try to control other people is by being fearful. So some people fearmonger maliciously. Other people fearmonger out of lazy-mindedness. If someone is a professional meditation teacher who've spent 10,000 hours in study and 10,000 hours in formal practice, they should know better. They should have a decent understanding of cognitive bias and logical fallacy and know how to really be sharp. So, sadly, these people who are rigid, fearful, and controlling and elitist are drawn to positions of authority the way that a June bug is drawn to a porch light at the start of summer. So, in every institution, professional, secular, spiritual, religious, even recreational, you will find people like this. I'm a big old science fiction geek, and geekdom is full of people who are gatekeepers, rigid, controlling, manipulative. Every facet of human society has a wealth of people who fit this personality profile, including Buddhism. If you're brave, if you're courageous, you can swim through the waters of Reddit and see how many questions are shaped by fear and rigidity, and how many of the answers these questions received are just dripping with that same rigidity and fear and cruelty. Now, I'm going to say some very controversial things. I'm going to tell you that certitude has more to do with rigidity than it does with flexibility. And as such, the Buddha may have existed, he might not have existed. The only test of the teachings are the effects those teachings generate in our lives when we apply them. If someone gives us a technique, we apply it once every 12 hours for a week, and it increases our fear and diminishes our peace, and it's probably not something we want to stick with the rest of our lives. Every cognizant human, well, I'll use the words attributed to the Buddha. All beings tremble before violence, all love life, all fear death. So it makes sense that someone on a spiritual path wants to make sure how to have an auspicious rebirth, if there is such a thing. And there have been teachers for thousands of years who will happily capitalize that fear and exploit that fear. And there are people who will just squander this life preparing for a next life that may or may not come. Now, I've got some very good news that you're not going to hear very often. When we read the numerical discourses that are attributed to the Buddha, in the collection of the 11s, there are the 11 benefits attributed to training in loving kindness, which, by the way, constitute 50% of the Eightfold Path. And the Buddha says that those who are defined by loving kindness take auspicious rebirth. That pretty much should put it at ease. And oh yeah, by the way, the most efficient way to train in loving kindness is not through contemplation. It's not through forcing ourselves to wish others well. The most efficient way to train in loving kindness is to train in mindfulness and meditation. You see, I need to access an image real quick. So I'm going to push button 7 and try to access the Word document. Okay, so this squishy bit right here is our seat of empathy, the anterior cingulate gyrus for the big kids. And this bit right down here, this squishy bit, is our seat of fear, our amygdala. And it would seem that these two function like a seesaw, like a toggle switch. We're either in fear or we're in empathy, one or the other. Now, as mammals, empathy is our birthright. However, when we experience peril, it undermines our empathy, and we're stuck in aggression. When we practice mindfulness and meditation correctly, our peace is restored, and by default, our empathy center lights up. fMRI studies have shown that those whose lives are defined by mindfulness and meditation have more developed empathy centers. So, if we cultivate a healthy and effective meditation practice, A, we will be more peaceful. B, we will be more empathetic and see if there is such a thing as future lives, our future rebirth will be auspicious. Now, I've said all that in preparation for the muck and mire that we're going to have to wade through in this passage. The third Dodrupchen continues. The various stages from the dissolution of the earth element through to the dissolution of consciousness into space. Space into clear light into union into wisdom, and wisdom into spontaneous presence, as well as ultimately how spontaneous presence is absorbed into the ionosphere and taught clearly and in detail in the treasury of the supreme vehicle and in summary in Yeshe Lama so console those. Various statements have been made about whether it is necessary for the experiences of appearance, increase, and attainment to arise in the way that the other tantras describe. In fact, the pure awareness of this system is identical to the wisdom of clear light. Therefore, the clear light that manifests at the conclusion of appearance, increase, and attainment is the actual pure awareness of the great perfection. Still, it is uncertain that the pure awareness of the great perfection will manifest in precisely the way that the three stages of appearance, increase, and attainment are explained. So, number one, there's all kinds of quasi-spirituality that indulge our controlling and perfectionistic tendencies, fueled by fear. And what the author of this text is saying is, guys, this super easy, super effective practice of noticing vulnerably, passively, and randomly in harmony with our inhalation and physically relaxing as well as mentally releasing in harmony with our exhalation, that creates the awareness and purity that all these complex, difficult systems are striving for. In this system, it is accessed effortlessly. We already evolved to access these things. We don't access these things because, as a quirk of evolution, the 3-pound squishy supercomputer between our ears often loses sight of this. However, by meditating in this system consistently, we align our intention, our will, our volition, if you will, with the mechanisms of our autonomic nervous system in a way that optimizes ourselves, that optimizes our heart and our mind and our life, and if there is such a thing, our afterlife. Let's continue. This is because there is apparently some variation in how clear light arises based on an individual's distinct characteristics. Some dusty old dead guy who's never met you can't know you even half as much as you could potentially know you as you pursue meditation as a daily hobby. And accordingly, various stages of dissolution are taught, and other obscure tantras in the Kala Chakra and here. So, if you look hard enough, you can find someone to tell you whatever you want to be told. You can find an author to write whatever it is you want to read. If you want to find an elitist path, you can find elitist paths. If you want to find people to scare you, you can find people to scare you. If you want to find people to make things difficult, people will line up to make things difficult for you. Yeah, I guarantee it. But if you want a path that is easy and effective and transformative, you could find that as well. If you found me, and if you found this path, you are very fortunate. Now here's the great irony. The path of Tantra, the path of Vajrayana, and the path of meditation are three separate paths. Elitists who are greedy for power and greedy for prestige blended them into one unit and perpetrated the lie that there's a funnel and you can't get to the special practices unless you spend years or decades doing this stuff first. Now, when first presented with that information, it seemed quite legitimate. That is, of course, until I read an ancient text attributed to the Buddha, but respected by all three schools of Buddhism. The text is titled Satipatthana Sutta, or the Four Bases of Mindfulness. That text concludes by saying, with the Buddha's methods, one could master the path of liberation to the point of enlightenment in 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 fortnights, or 7 weeks, wait for it, or even 7 days. That is mind-blowing. Now, there's always going to be cranky people, Lucy Van Pelt's, stomping around, saying it's going to take you, 3 aeons to become a Buddha. Saying that you can't become a Buddha, and if you think you're a Buddha, you're wrong. And if you say you're a Buddha, we're going to kick you out of the monastic order. And we're going to besmirch you. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. And you can't practice this special stuff. You have to wait it out for decade after decade. And if you kiss enough ass and do enough bows and make enough offerings, we'll teach it to you crumb by crumb, cryptically, and force you to learn other languages and to marinate yourself in other cultures. Yuck! There's nothing loving or peaceful or liberated about that. Buddha taught an easy system that can be mastered in a relatively short period of time. Despite the ravings of cranky bastards. Okay, and that concludes my opening rant. Now what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for button number 9. Welcome to the latest iteration of Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche's concise stately Tantra of Vajrasattva. This has been adapted and amplified by yours truly. We're going to begin with some outer preliminary practices. They're known by many names, such as Ngondra. And this is outer, but it should read inner. It's what we like to call a typo. Please chant with me. Oh, in order for all mothers and sentient beings to obtain the state of the fully enlightened Buddha, I promise to abandon all misdeeds, accumulate merit, and always cultivate bodhicitta for others' sake. So, quick like a buddy, I'm going to do a quick edit. Now let's see, how many tabs can I get in there? I guess just 2. Oh, in order for all mothers and sentient beings to obtain the state of a fully enlightened Buddha, I promise to abandon all cruelty, accumulate merit, and always cultivate bodhicitta for others' sake. Oh, in order for all mothers and sentient beings to obtain the state of a fully enlightened Buddha, I promise to abandon all cruelty, accumulate merit, and always cultivate bodhicitta for others' sake. And now let us, and how are we going to do that? Well, by taking refuge, of course. Haha. Namo, precious Lama, the Lord of all families, divine Yadam, the source of all cities. Conjure the dispeller of all obstacles in the 3 roots, I take refuge. Namo, precious Lama, the Lord of all families, divine Yadam, the source of all cities. Conjure the dispeller of all obstacles in the 3 roots, I take refuge. Namo, precious Lama, the Lord of all families, divine Yadam, the source of all cities. Conjure the dispeller of all obstacles in the 3 roots, I take refuge. Let's continue. We come at last to our first of 2 silent meditations. This awareness and letting go's mindfulness and meditation could serve as an antidote to clinging, while also slicing through the fundamental duality of dread and desire. It is known by many names such as Zen, Chan, Dhyana, Tantra, Mahamudra, Dzogchen, and Trekcho. Oh yes, Ati Yoga as well. Yet despite all these fancy words, the technique is very easy. Consider, please, this photograph of a wooden statue of the Buddha. His legs are not twisted into a pretzel. It says he's simply sitting cross-legged, hands resting in the lap. Doing this really helps to optimize the energy for meditation. He sits as if there is traction between his tush and his head. If we imitate that, it could serve us well. As I mentioned during the opening rant, we evolved in such a way so that during each inhalation, we could notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly, thanks to the sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. On the other hand, during each exhalation, we have evolved to physically relax and mentally release due to the workings of our parasympathetic nervous system, ensconced partly in our lumbar spinal cord and also in our cervical spinal cord. So this is a fundamental capability of our central nervous system. You'll notice that the in-breath is shorter and the out-breath is longer. That is not a coincidence. Let's meditate. Consider for a moment this photograph of a wooden statue depicting two Buddhas sporting in tantric union. This could be described in Sanskrit as Vajrasarva Karma Mudra, or in Tibetan as Dorje Sampa Yabyum, or in English as Diamond Mind, Mother and Father. The iconography of this yadam, or archetype of enlightenment, functions merely to organize the 8 figures of speech necessary for deeply transformative contemplations, therefore rendering superstition completely unnecessary. All right. All Vajanas offer grace based unobtainable through grasping like the moon in water. As the emanation of Samanta Bhadra, you are the main deity, the union of wisdom and method. A heroic being white in color, holding Vajra and bell, embracing the consort of innate luminosity. The union of bliss and emptiness adorned and adorned with soul-controlled ornaments. From the state of the unfabricated nature, the peaceful yet amok types appear at the main deity's heart. And the wrathful yet amok types appear vividly at his crown. At his heart upon discs of sun and moon is the cerebral whom surrounded by the mantra mala, from which light rays radiate then return, performing the 2 kinds of benefit of oneself and others, and pacifying negativities as well as competition and clingings. Observations of obscurations of awareness into space. The entire outer and inner world arises as fortunate and ungraspable, as deity, mantra, and wisdom of the countless peaceful and wrathful yet amok types. And now we come to mantra meditation of love and letting go, which can serve as antidotes to hating and are known by many names, such as Tokal. Such as Tokal's leap over. I invoke the Vajra diamond like strength of a sattva mind, well trained in love and letting go, supplicating with all my love and letting go be mastered by all. Let us bring the four bases of mindfulness into the path of love. So what we're going to do is we come now to mantra meditation. Now the trick to transforming a mere mantra recitation into actual mantra meditation is twofold. When chanting the mantra, we physically relax as best we can. And number two, during the in-breath before the mantra, we silently and mentally recite a loving intention. Now this bit right here is cryptic. Fortunately, we flesh it out in the previous page. Please chant with me. May all minds of all beings know me as peaceful and wise as our Buddha's mind. Symbolized by a considerable mantra known as a Sitikle or Bija mantra. Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A. Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A. Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A. Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A. May whole relationships of all beings know be as joyful and loving as the Buddha's communications symbolized by the six-syllable mantra. Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A. Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A. Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A, Om Vajra Sattva A. Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva. May whole bodies of all beings know and show the beautiful health depicted in Buddhist thought of the blissful body of a yidam of lore and archetype of enlightenment. Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva. Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva. Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva. Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva, Om Vajra Sattva. May all circumstances of all beings be as safe and fortunate as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land of Vanti. May all circumstances of all beings know of their safety, good fortune, and boon, as a Buddha's real or a mountain paradise, spirit land of Vanti. Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva. 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 As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we notice during our previous inhalation could feel as no graspable as a vast empty void, like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a beautiful cloudless morn, which, although compelling to the eye, is not graspable to the hand. How is it that as we inhale all circumstances could appear quite vivid, yet as we relax into our exhalation they could feel as not graspable as a paradise or vati of light? Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva. 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 How is it that as we inhale our bodies could feel quite sensual, yet as we relax into our exhalation they could feel as not graspable as an octuple of light? Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva. 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 How is it that as we inhale the interpersonal experience of communication could be quite resounding, yet as we relax into our exhalation it could feel as not graspable as a mantra of light? Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva, Om Vajrasattva. 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 How is it that as we inhale we could perceive our mind's functions quite clearly, Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as not graspable as a seatable hum of light. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva, Om Vajra Sarva. During the inhalation, we silently and mentally recite the rhetorical question, how could the heart's peaceful yadams feel? During the exhalation, let us chant their mantra of invocation. Om Buddhijita Mahasukha Jana Datu Om Buddhijita Mahasukha Jana Datua. Om Buddhijita Mahasukha Jana Datu Om Buddhijita Mahasukha Jana Datu. And now we turn our attention to the crown's real or imagined wrathful yadams. That's one more time. One moment. Here we go. Here we go. Ru 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 hum ru byo hum ru 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 hum byo hum. Om ru 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 hum byo hum ru 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 hum byo hum. What could it feel like if everything now dissolved into clear light? Hum, hum, hum. We come now to bliss and letting go, which can serve as an antidote to craving and is known by many names, such as Tikle's, drop, during our inhalation, let us silently and mentally invoke the heart syllable hum. During the exhalation, let us explore how whatever we perceive could feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Through this merit may I swiftly accomplish the enlightened state of Vajrasattva, and may I establish every sentient being without exception in the perfect state as well. May all mind, speech, forms, and lots be as wise, living, healthy, and fortunate as diamond minds, real or imagined, suitable mantra, archetype, and paradise. May all beings like diamond mind master the eightfold path as well as liberate all others. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness, spontaneous and uncontrived. At the very end of each being's life, may we take immediate and auspicious rebirth, master the Buddha's path, and then help all others do likewise. May everyone be free from suffering, may everyone be happy. May no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging freed. If you feel that I have earned it, you could type something in the chat window. You could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could share it with a friend. You could support this channel on Patreon for $1 or $2 a month. Or not. Either way, in approximately 10.5 hours, it is my intention to return to lead tomorrow's early morning meditation. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy. And if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.